Like, if I do this with WikiLeaks, the security world's going to hate me, right? Because that will be anti-establishment, anti-government, right? And he was, of course, then with the WikiLeaks and part of the inner circle of WikiLeaks. And he then called me suddenly and said, hey, you know, would you like to do security for me when I'm going to travel with the diplomatic cables? Yes, and you start understanding that the terrorist on the other side wasn't always the bad guy. You know, something happened in his life that he went from a happy, playful child to I want to be a terrorist and kill people, right? Behold without prejudice, then you shall see. Mm-hmm. And as I was repeating this all the time, of course, surveillance detection, you need to learn to think like the enemy, learn to think like an Al-Qaeda terrorist. How are they thinking? But then as you start beholding without prejudice, you start noticing your own prejudices. Of course, as Iceland became a big part after I studied theology, and I couldn't quite find a church. I went to all the different Christian branches, you know, and I couldn't quite find a church where I felt fitted in view with my experiences and my understanding of Christianity and my experience as drowning in the beginning, right? Which is a fundamental change. So I found them presumptuous. I found them very judging, most of them, which doesn't fit with my lifestyle, right? Because I'm very kind of forgiving, and I also think that you have to look at other people's life, why they chose where they are. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that changed in my life when I was a security consultant, because for a long time my personal motto was behold without prejudice, then you shall see. Mm-hmm. And as I was repeating this all the time, of course, surveillance detection, you need to learn to think like the enemy, learn to think like an Al-Qaeda terrorist. How are they thinking? But then as you start beholding without prejudice, you start noticing your own prejudices, and then you change them and you overcome them, and you become much more empathetic to other people's causes and ideas, and you start understanding that the terrorist on the other side wasn't always the bad guy. You know, something happened in his life that he went from a happy, playful child to I want to be a terrorist and kill people, right? Something went wrong, and in my opinion, if we can go back and find out that cause, we have a reason for his method of being, right? His modus operandi, we figure out why does he do what he does, right? So that changed how I viewed the whole world and things. And then in 2011, while teaching a course in Iceland for bodyguards for a security company, one of the guys on that course was Siggy the hacker. He was there as photographer for that company, and he was, of course, then with the WikiLeaks and part of the inner circle of WikiLeaks. And he then called me suddenly and said, hey, you know, would you like to do security for me when I'm gonna travel with the diplomatic cables before they became public, and travel with them to Paris and Budapest? And I thought for a little bit and think, like, if I do this with WikiLeaks, the security world's going to hate me, right? Because that will be anti-establishment, anti-government, right? And then I thought, well, I'm going to be priest anyway, right? So I might as well burn my bridges and take my chances and go on, right? Did that. I did the Paris and Budapest tours, and then I was asked by Julian Assange to come out and if I could do bodyguarding for him during his 40th birthday, and later on at his High Court appearance in London. So I did that. Siggy was one of the first members of my church, actually, and when I founded my own church, because I couldn't find my way there, and I founded my own church. And he was with the founding members of that church, and so of course I had pastoral obligations to him. And when he got sentenced to prison, I kept visiting him and keep in touch and do pastoral counselling with him. And I also helped him negotiate in the beginning with the police. Was part of his reason for confessing and after a while he confessed all his crimes to them there, and I was part of the advisory committee that argued on his behalf for early release under compulsory, and he was released in the beginning under my responsibility, where he had a ankle bracelet on, and he came to assist in the church or at my place of living during the day. Yeah. Well, I mean, the church was a place to bring, called the Apostles' Church, so Bet Shekinah. Bet Shekinah was the first name, and Bethany, of course, means house of or home of, and Shekinah is the word for the only in the temple when they felt the Holy Spirit or the Spirit of God coming in. That's called the Shekinah. Shekinah is also the old version of the Venus, light of Venus, when it came through the opening. So I chose those two names, which made perfect sense to me, because when you study theology and Hebrew words and stuff like that, Beth and Shekinah for me was like clear. And it is probably for many theologians, they right away know what that word means, but no one else could figure out what that meant. I came to my shock that most people hadn't read these things and weren't interested. And they were like, what does it mean? Beth, I can't even spell it. And they were like, okay. So we call it the Apostles' Church, in Iceland, the Apostles' Church, because apostle actually means bringer of good news, right? I had, of course, a normal Sunday Mass, but I also had book readings and clubs where we were meeting. I had meditations, contemplative prayer meetings, and as I noticed, pastoral counselling is a big thing, because actually 80% of a pastor's job is speaking to people that have problems, and they come to you and want to talk, and they maybe can't afford the psychologist and they have a fee, and they go to their priest or pastor instead. And of course, I had taken pastoral counselling with St. George College, and then with Cutler's, he's a very good thing, it was solution-focused pastoral counselling, which fitted great with me. So I started talking to these people, and then it became more like life coaching, which again I had also learned in 2008. I took a course in life coaching also in London. Stellar life coaching it was called, and it was while out there. I did a lot of studies because it was I'm open-minded, but I'm also judging. So it's kind of a contrast. The whole thing is black and white, my life. So I really appreciate it, and I like that, and I could see that you could change people in your effect. But I also noticed that everybody who had mental problems usually also had physical problems. Well, the Reiki is a thing actually. When I was having this tremendous pain in my neck and painful, and I was in London one day, and I was walking, and I was next to my hotel. There was this little kiosk where I often went and buy some soft drinks and stuff, and there was this poster that somebody put up, like a Reiki course, healing, physical, mental, blah blah blah, and I thought, oh, idiots, But I was like, hey, I had nothing better to do after my work hours. I'm sitting out here alone, so I'm bored. So I went and attended this 200-pound course, Reiki 1, and I thought, quite interesting, based in Tendai Buddhism and Mikao Usui's teachings of Reiki, and it was called Teate, which is hands-on, Teate Reiki, and I became very well, there were some things I liked about it, but very quickly I could immediately feel, well, there's energy and I can use and feel, but I thought that I was fooling myself, that I was actually in meditation sort of making myself believe I could control my pain, right? And because it helped me, that I thought, well, later on I took number 2 and number 3, including Reiki Master, which I finished in 8. The other thing I think it was in 5. I started in 5 and I finished in 8. Yeah. So and I became a Reiki Master, and I never used it for anything except my own purpose.